All right, good morning, guys, or good afternoon, I should say. This day is going super fast. Um, so we have, today we're going to be talking about one of the most important topics, I think the most important topic that I teach about, which is the mind-body connection. And so specifically what I'm going to be talking to you today about is what the mind-body connection really is, why it's so important for kind of achieving your best self in terms of your happiest, healthiest, most fulfilled, most in control version of yourself. And the tools that are emerging right now, tools, technologies, and skills that are really emerging right now that have the most powerful and effective and accurate ability for you to establish the mind-body connection and really be able to listen to your body in order to achieve all of those amazing outcomes that I just talked about. So I wanted to just kind of introduce this by telling you guys a little bit about why I feel so passionate about the mind-body connection. And it really kind of starts with my own healing journey. As a lot of you know, when I was much younger, when I was in high school and college, I struggled with severe anxiety, depression, and along with that, tons of bodily symptoms. Number one, pure exhaustion. Number two, just always had agitation in my stomach, whether it was like constipation or loose motions. There was just always something wrong in my stomach. I got hormonal imbalances. There was a lot of challenges that I went through. And, I spent years and years kind of like shopping around for different solutions. So I spent, a really long time going to traditional kind of psychologists, psychiatrists, therapists, and they all recommended different medications, different medications. And I would say that I didn't really have a great way of evaluating whether they worked. Of course, one quick tool was to be like, hey, is this improving my mood? But I noticed that some improved my mood in some ways and not in others, or they started to in the first few weeks and then not after that, or some made me more tired but less sad, but I didn't really know how to really measure or evaluate those things, right? And even as I started moving into the space of natural healing, and trying to naturally improve my mental and physical health, there were, again, just so many different opinions, right? I went to nutritionists, and I got everything from become a vegan, go paleo, go keto, go all these different things. I got a lot of different advice on the kinds of exercise that was right for me. Some people said you should really only strength train. Other people said you really need to do cardiovascular work. And the supplements, the recommendations, the dietary habits, everything was just all over the place in terms of recommendations. And the hardest part was that all these people had case studies, of, oh, this worked for this person, this worked for all these clients, these worked for all these clients. So it's so hard for us to know, right? Whenever we're trying to improve anything, our mental, our physical health, just how to go about doing that, whose advice to trust when there seems to be so many experts and you can pretty much find evidence to support whatever you want to support these days on Google, right? And so I think that, what really started to make the difference for me was when I just decided to become my own doctor. I just decided that, nobody really seems to have the perfect solution to me or an individual solution for me. Everybody seems to have their own kind of beliefs and systems in terms of what's going to work for this particular disease or this particular malady or issue, but nobody is really seems to understand the full picture of me and be able to create a solution that would really work for me. And so I just became my own doctor, meaning I started taking some of the advice of these experts, but applying it in ways that I was listening and seeing if it was really working for me, right? And so I started to learn most basic skills, some of the, about paying attention to my breath and how that changed. And then I started to use some much more sophisticated technologies and that are out there now that actually help me measure, hey, how does my nervous system respond to this particular, let's say, medication or this particular supplement or this particular diet? How does my cardiovascular system respond to that? And when I started being able to actually physically measure those things and also tune into my body in ways that I started to teach myself, little minute ways of listening to parts of my body that nobody had ever taught me to listen to, that's when I was able to take all of this expert advice and really craft a solution, a healing, and kind of a life plan that made sense for me, right? And now I use these tools and technologies to plan not just my overall kind of healing, but every single day I wake up and I do these tests and I do these practices, and I know exactly where I am in my nervous system. Am I in my sympathetic or parasympathetic nervous system? In other words, am I in my fight and flight nervous system today, or am I in my rest and digest nervous system? I know how to measure my heart and what's going on with my cardiovascular system, and I know how that's going to be affecting my moods, my readiness, my energy levels, all this kind of stuff. I know how to measure the strength of like various glands and various organs in my body on a particular day. And again, all of these are really just indicators into what's working for me, what's healthy for me, and what diet I should be eating or should be choosing for that day, what exercise I should be choosing, whether or not I should be having really important critical conversations or making really important critical decisions, right? So these technologies totally revolutionized and changed my life, not only empowering me to really heal through all of the stuff that I was going through at that point in my life, and create a kind of mental and physical life now, which is completely balanced. I haven't been sick in over 6 years in it. I don't have to go to the doctor ever anymore, and that feels really empowering to kind of be able to just check in, know what I need, and respond to it in that day, and that makes me create a really fulfilled and meaningful life. And so, I wanted to give you guys an example of what I'm talking about today with these kind of tools to listen to your body in order to really achieve emotional well-being, improve your mental health, and really just, again, be able to live your most fulfilled life. Go after what you want to go after. Be sure you're making the right decisions in a day, and really know what's best for you. So the first kind of, example that I wanted to give you guys is kind of around food and diet, right? I have some notes here because I want to make sure I include a lot in this conversation. So if I'm looking down, it's just making sure I'm including everything I wanted to chat about today. So, and at the end of this live, I am going to tell you about how to learn more about a lot of these technologies and how to go about testing them, etc. And I'll give you a really, really cool offer to go deeper with me on all that kind of stuff. But basically, it's really important for you to know that the science is out, that there is no one-size-fits-all standard approach to diet that works for everybody, right? So even though your friend is a vegan and it's rocking her world and it's making so much sense for her, that just does not mean that veganism is necessarily going to work for you, right? And that applies to not just food philosophies, but also individual foods. Somebody's rocking out like all their joints are better and all this kind of stuff because of turmeric. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean turmeric is going to work to solve all of your joint problems, right? And so what are the kinds of things that affect our ability to basically metabolize and absorb nutrients? Well, lots of things. Primarily your genetic makeup, right? So basically what your ancestors consistently ate will really contribute and affect how your body produces certain chemicals to metabolize certain foods. So for example, Some of us have a lot more bile that comes from our liver to break down fats. Some of us just have much more higher levels of that because our ancestors lived in cultures and places where fats were a part of the cuisine and eating style for so long, right? Others of us break down proteins much better. Others of us break down carbohydrates much better. And your genetic makeup is a huge factor in terms of how your body's going to break down different things, right? Another thing, obviously, is lifestyle. How much exercise you do and how much sleep you get. All of that really determines how your body is working in a particular moment. Your gut microbiome is a huge factor as well in determining kind of how your body metabolizes and responds to foods and different foods, and obviously your environment as well. So basically meaning where you live, the temperature, the energy of that place, how comfortable you feel there, that affects your ability to metabolize and absorb nutrients. And of course, nutrients are the basis for us being able to produce all of the kind of things that we need to feel happy, to feel energized, and live a good life, right? So, for example, serotonin, if you've heard of serotonin as like a chemical in your head that produces happiness, that comes from the breakdown of nutrients from your food. So that's why food is such an important connection to everything else that we're talking about. So, there are general principles of healthy eating, obviously, and basically those principles are eat whole foods, whole real foods, eat lean proteins, and eat crazy amounts of vegetables. I mean, that can pretty much be applied to everybody on the planet, but beyond that, there's just tremendous amounts of variability, right? So just to kind of prove this, I want to tell you guys about two really amazing studies that have really just come out in the last 6 months. So just how modern and cutting edge a lot of the stuff I'm talking about is, right? So one is from the Weizmann Institute of Science, and basically what they did is they followed 800 people for a week, and they gave them the exact same diet. But they realized that those 800 people, basically what they were doing was measuring their blood sugar after a meal and after 2 hours after the meal. And so that was basically telling them that even though people were eating the same foods, people had extremely different reactions to those foods in their bodies, right? So some people would eat a banana and get like just kind of a steady and sturdy level of energy from that, and because they were able to metabolize those sugars really well. And other people ate a banana and had a crash 2 hours later because they don't metabolize that sugar particularly well. It goes up, it goes down, and they crashed, right? So that's what they found out there, that even though the glycemic index of a banana is the glycemic index of a banana, it was actually different from one person to another in terms of how they responded to it, right? So another study came from this organization called Food for Me, and basically there they followed 1,500 people, and what they did there was they gave 1,500 people for an extended period of time a really healthy kind of standard diet. So, everything I talked about before, whole foods, tons of vegetables, lean proteins, really clean organic food. And then they gave the other group very personalized diets. So, so they gave some people more protein, they gave some people more carbs based on a combination of their genetic history, their microbiome, and a few other things. And the people who, after just a month of doing this diet, the people who had the very personalized diet had extremely better health outcomes in all kind of parameters. So their nervous system was in better health, their cardiovascular system was in better health, right? And so here are these people who are saying like, I eat healthy, eating the standard healthy diet, but that really didn't do for them what a personalized diet does, right? So how the heck can you figure out what's the right diet for you on a personalized level? Again, if you want to achieve really emotional well-being, if you want to achieve balance, if you want to feel in control of your mood and your health and your vitality, how can you start to achieve that? Well, there's a lot basically of different technologies that can help you do that and help you really measure, is this food right for me? Is this helpful for me? Is this helping me achieve whatever emotional or physical outcome I'm looking to achieve, right? And I'm going to, as I said, I'm going to be hosting an amazing workshop this upcoming Sunday and again next Wednesday, which you can register for, and I'm really going to be teaching you the 3 most powerful tools and technologies to do that. Right now, I don't have, the ability or the time to go really in depth, but I wanted to start by introducing you to one of those technologies that won't be covered in the workshop, just so you start to get an idea, and maybe this is where you start. Maybe this is the tool that you start using in order to start establishing that mind-body connection, in order to start personalizing the way that you go about healing and lifestyle setup, right? And then if you want to go deeper with me and learn some even more powerful, even quicker, even more amazing technologies, you can click the link in the comments and check out this amazing workshop and be part of it with us, where you'll actually get to ask me questions, and we'll really, really talk about the details of the most cutting edge technologies to get into measuring your mental and physical health and controlling it. But for right now, I want to talk to you about basically like a glucometer. And so this is something, if you know anyone with diabetes, it's one really cool technology because that they use to measure their blood sugar rate, because it's actually dangerous and life-threatening for them if their blood sugar goes up past a certain level. But so, glucometers can help normal people like you and I too. So first of all, just kind of for anyone who doesn't understand, the mind-body connection as related to blood sugar is that your blood sugar levels have so much to do with your mood and with your thoughts. Basically, if your blood sugar has a high level of variability, meaning it goes up and it goes down and it goes up and it goes down and it goes up and it goes down, your emotions are doing the same thing. They're going up and they're going down. It's like you're on a roller coaster all day long, right? And so what you want, one of the most powerful things that you can do for your mental and physical health is to stabilize your blood sugar levels and eat a diet that allows you to stay at a pretty constant blood sugar level, right? And when you do that, you get dramatically lower levels of stress, anxiety, and you're just able to handle situations much more calmly, much better, etc., right? If you walk into a room and your blood sugar levels are stable and they're not crashing or they're not soaring, you're going to perceive that situation with much more kindness and ease, right? So maybe a morning meeting at work, or if you just walked in and had a food or substance before that's spiking your blood sugar, you're gonna feel much more anxious there. You're gonna think that your boss is giving you a stank eye. You're gonna think that you'll come up with all of these things, and that's just purely your blood sugar and your body's response to an unstable blood sugar affecting your mood, your perception, and then how you actually show up and behave in that meeting, right? So it's such an important tool. So when it comes to measuring blood sugar, here's how you do it. So you get a glucometer, you can order it, I think you can go to your pharmacy and probably pick it up for like $20 or maybe $30. They have some good ones on Amazon as well for like $35. So you go and get a glucometer and some strips. And the first thing you want to do is test your fasting glucose level. Basically, your fasting glucose level is when you first wake up in the morning and your body's been fasted for 12 hours, you want to, basically meaning it's not digesting any food, you'll test your blood sugar levels. And so the blood sugar levels that you want on a fasted state should be like between 70 and 100 milligrams per deciliter, mg per dl is how you'll usually see that measured, right? And so that's your kind of fasted, that's your baseline. And that's where you mostly want to stay, right? You don't want to be consuming a diet that's making you go way above or way below. And so what you would do to test the effect of a food on your particular body is eat that food, and immediately after you eat the food, you again test your blood sugar levels, right? And then once again, you test it 2 hours after that, right? And so what you're looking for 2 hours after that is it depends on who you follow, but I believe for mental health, you should really be able to keep your glucose levels between really 90 and 115 milligrams per deciliter, right? If it goes above 115, in my opinion, it's going to be something that's going to cause a crash, and it's going to affect your mood, your stability, your happiness, your behavior, everything, right? So you really want to kind of keep it in that range so that you're not feeling any crash, that you feel like you're steady sailing through the day. So you're really looking at, and so what you want to do then is, after a week of eating this kind of stuff, you'll look specifically for the foods that spike your blood sugar, and specifically the worst ones are the ones that keep your blood sugar up at high levels for that 2 hour thing. Most foods are going to spike your blood sugar a little bit right after you eat them, but like, how long does it stay elevated? So that's what you're really looking for. And you want to basically eliminate the foods that are taking you out of that ideal range that I talked about. Now, again, the National Institute of Health will tell you that you can go up to 180 milligrams per deciliter. Personally, I find that way too high. That affects my mood way too much. It affects my well-being, it affects my happiness, it affects my ability to really rationally process any situation I walk into. And so keeping your blood sugar in that range that I talked about, between kind of 70 at the fastest state and then 115 as a result of, whatever you're eating, that's going to dramatically improve your physiological as well as your mental health, right? So that's just one tool that I really wanted to give you an example of how much we can start to listen to our bodies because of all of the really, really cool and powerful technologies that are out there, right? But there's many, many more, and I really want to share them with you in depth, as well as show you the actual technologies, how to use them, and how I use them, and they're quick. They are not time consuming. They're not super expensive, but they're, and so in this workshop that I'm offering, which you can see the link below in the comments, it's really teaching you how to tap into the mind-body connection using various tools to measure your physical and mental health on a daily basis, and then decide things through the day. So for example, when I wake up, I do these tests and I learn where I am in my nervous system, if I'm in my parasympathetic or if I'm in my sympathetic nervous system. Basically, if I'm like in my already defensive fighting nervous system, or if I'm in my happy place, right? And again, I can link those, and I link all of that to foods that I've eaten, as well as exercises that I try, as well as supplements I give a try, as well as the environment, as well as the place I'm sleeping, the temperature I'm sleeping, right? So I test all of these variables with these indicators, right? You're also going to learn about how to measure, how your cardiovascular system basically plays a role in your mental and emotional well-being. And I'm going to teach you the tools and technologies that you can use to measure that on a daily basis. And also just to measure your overall energy, your overall vibration, and the tools that you can use to do that, right? And so the cool thing is that, like, as anybody knows who's ever struggled with mental or physical health in their lives, there's a million suggestions out there. And so what this workshop aims to do is really empower you to say, cool, there's all this expert advice out there. I don't know where to start, but I don't need to feel overwhelmed. I'm going to start with what seems most resonant to me, what calls out to me, and I'm going to test it, and I'm going to measure the results using these 3 very concrete technologies that Caitlin's going to teach me in this worksheet and workshop, and I'm going to know exactly whether these things are working for me or not, right? And so again, you can hack so many different parts. You can hack your diet, like I talked about, but you can also hack the meditation you do, the way you pay attention to your thoughts. You can hack your exercise. You can hack your environment. You can hack your relationships. You can hack the times of day that you sleep, right? You can hack the essential oils that you use. There's an endless amount of things that you can use to create a more salient kind of mind-body connection and a better kind of mental and physical health, right? And that's what I want for you guys. I want you to be in control of your life, of your healing, of your well-being, of your future, of how you show up and experience your daily life. And that's what I'm going to empower you to do in this workshop. It's going to be so amazing and powerful. I cannot wait to share this stuff with you guys. I'm so excited. So let me know if you have questions. I'm happy to answer them. Just type them in the comments below and I will respond to them either through a direct message if it's a personal comment, or I'll comment here and let the whole group share. But thank you guys for checking in. I'm so excited to see you all in this amazing workshop coming up. Click the link in the comments and I can't wait to see you there. In the meantime, be you, be true, and shine on through. See you next time, guys.